Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a new Fractal Tone tutorial for you, and this is how to dial an amp in the room type of sound using your Fractal FM3, FM9, XFX3. I'm primarily talking about when you are recording or maybe you're using some studio headphones or maybe studio monitors and you want to get more of that amp in the room feel. You know what I'm talking about if you've ever played a real tube amp. Before we get started though, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Really close to 10,000 subscribers. Thank you for all your support. We're really close, so if you could hit that subscribe button, that'd be awesome. Hoping to get to 10,000 before the end of the year. So the intro clip was Heart of Life. I just kind of looped that progression and then played the solo over it. I'm using this as an example because the whole John Mayer Continuum album has this real, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, there's a feel to it and it's a lot of amp in the room type of sound. So I wanted to be able to capture that today using my Fractal FM9 Turbo. So I'm going to share a few of my tips with you. We are going to be using this brand new Mike Lowell TX custom that I just got from them. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful. Look at the back of the neck. So this is a charcoal black is what they call it, and 3A flame roasted maple neck, tort pick guard. These are Lindy Fralin pickups. These I believe are blues specials, not quite sure, but pretty cool. Check out their website in the description box below. They're amazing guitars. So let's go ahead and dive into FM9 Edit. All right. Here we are in FM9 Edit. This is a Dumble ODS preset I just threw together. Just something that's a little bit different than what I normally do. Still kind of that John Mayer centric type of tone. He was known to use the ODS for the Continuum album, so I wanted to try to kind of replicate a little bit of that with my new Mike Lowell TX. So let's just take you through the amp, cab, and reverb really quick. So here are the settings that I have. Let's go to the Ideal tab. Kind of stole these from Leon Todd. I thought they worked really well, but I did turn off the bright switch and just added a touch of gain enhancer. I don't know, I just like it, especially on some more clean sounds. Cabs. This is the Leon Todd EV Mesa cab. This was from, I think it was the Gift of Tone week when it was for Leon, and he has these out for everyone to use. And then we have a 2x12 room mic IR, factory 2, number 177. And then kind of my go-to, the South Church reverb. And that is it. Let's go ahead and play. I'll be on the neck pickup of my Mike Lowell TX. All right, so amp in the room. Something that Cooper Carter mentioned in his amp in the room video, which is very different from mine, is that a speaker cabinet for a guitar amp has a high-end roll-off of like in the 6K range. I think that's what it was, 6 to 7K range. So my first tip, go to the cab block, either using the high cuts here in the cab tab, or go to the preamp and do some high-end roll-off. So I'll just show you kind of what we got going here. Everything's wide open. Just play some chords. So no matter what I'm doing, if I'm dialing a John Mayer type tone or really anything, I usually start with some high-end cuts. I just felt like this sounded best right about here in the 6K-ish range. I did do some low cuts. We're not really talking about that today, but that's kind of my first tip. Do some high cuts, because when you are using a real tube amp in the room, like let's say the amp is right on the ground and maybe you're standing or you're sitting in a chair next to it, you're not in front of the actual speaker, your ears are not going to be hearing the sound coming directly from the cone, which is kind of what these amp modelers are doing, right? You have the microphone in front of the cab, in front of the cone, behind the speaker cab, whatever it is, off axis. There's going to be some more high-end content. And then if you are using an actual amp and you stand next to it, you're going to notice a significant decrease in that high end. So that's kind of what I'm going for right here. Then tip number 2, go to the room air tab and start adding some room level. I have it set to hall. Something I do notice, once you get to about 30% here on the room level, there's a little bit of smoothness going on to your high end. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and play a little bit. So I'm not sure if that really translates much into this video recording, but the feel is there. So let's go ahead and dial it out. So obviously the more you go up, the more dramatic the effect. I would say anything under 30% is a good starting place. So that's tip number 2, dial in some room level. You can change the shape from hall to room. Either one works great. I usually prefer the hall setting. Tip number 3, use a room mic IR and set it to ultra res. I feel like it gives you more of that feel. Some people use like a room reverb and then a main reverb. And while that's good, this is actually simulating what you would be hearing in a room. So I have the exact same, well, for the most part, exact same cabs dialed in here. We have a 4x12 rumble. It's not a room mic one. So we're just going to go back and forth and you'll hear kind of the more immediacy of the attack. So hopefully you hear that depth. Let's go ahead and turn the reverb off and we'll just kind of break the strings. Now, ideally, a full res IR would be great. You get more length. This one's a little bit short, but it adds something really nice to it. You can even just use one of these regular IRs and then you can mix in the room IR. I have it up all the way, but you can dial it back just a little bit to like maybe negative like 3 dB or so. But that's another tip. Tip number 3, use a room mic IR. I usually do this and the room level together to give me my sound. Then just number 4, using reverb that just has a nice tail to it and sounds natural. I do like the spring reverb in the Fractal, but I feel like this is just my go-to. Have it dialed into something that I really, really like. What you can do is dial the mix back. You can set this in parallel, but I usually like to have a longer trail and then dial the mix back. Then it's not going to get lost in the mix when you're playing with a recording or in a live setting. And my last tip is to use the enhancer block. Now, some people like to have this go to a separate output and have that go to just the in-ear mix, so you have a little bit more of a feel, which is great. I think it can be a little bit of overkill, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the enhancer block and the room mic IR as well, and then we'll go to more of a dry cab setting and the enhancer block. So one more time, this is what it sounds like. We have the room mic IR. Without. All right, let's go to more of a dry cab setting. Enhancer block. So definitely something with the enhancer block is it does add a little bit of level, so you can dial that back a little bit, but it just widens it, just gives you a little bit better feel, especially in some studio monitors or your headphones. But those are my tips and tricks for dialing an amp in the room type of sound. So just to recap, number one, in your cab block, dial some of that high cut back to maybe around 6K-ish. Number two, add some room level. And remember, you can go up as high as you want, but anything under that 30% works great. Tip number three, use a room mic IR, set it to ultra res so you can get that amp in the room type of feel. And you can even dial it back just a little bit, blend it in with whatever main IR you are using. Another tip, find a reverb that sounds nice and natural and set the mix low, maybe set the time high. Another thing, use some pre-delay so then you're not lost in the mix. And the last one, enhancer block. The enhancer block gives you a little bit more of that wide feel. One more thing before I let you all go. One thing you could do is you could have two cab blocks going. You could use some dry IRs. It's like, let's say something like this. And then what you could do is either have them panned hard right, hard left, and then a second cab block set with some room mic IRs coming straight down the middle. That could give you a nice blend as well. All right, I hope this was helpful for you, gives you some insight onto how I record for my YouTube channel to achieve that amp in the room type of feel. Take care, everyone, and thank you for supporting the channel.